When it comes to weapons and soul leveling rise, you're often asking yourself, well, what should I be salvaging? Well, that's a good question. You definitely don't want to miss out on these materials, since you can go to the shop and spend them for some valuable rewards. To view them, you just go to the weapon materials exchange, and you can see we have hunter exclusive weapon designs, mana power crystals which are very useful, and a bunch of other goodies, such as skill scrolls and designs. But let's address one of the most important questions: should you salvage SSR weapons or not? Well, that is a very good question. I will put up a clip here where I start to salvage Salvaging Hu's weapon and Wu's weapon as well. You can see I'm definitely not worried about dismantling an SSR weapon. That's because when it comes to hunters, if you have a weapon for a hunter you don't plan on using, Wu is definitely not a hunter you should be using, so salvaging his weapon is not a loss. Getting those weapon designs is very useful for crafting a weapon you might actually need. You do need 4 of those to craft a weapon alongside those crystals as well. So every 2 SSR weapons you salvage that you're not using for a hunter, you can use to craft towards a weapon you're going to use on a hunter that is useful, such as me in this case. After salvaging my Salvaging Hu's A1 weapon and Wu's weapon as well, I'm going to jump straight into crafting, and I'm going to craft Wu's weapon, which is much needed, but I'm unfortunately short on power crystals, so let's go over an easy way to get them. Let's go back to our weapons and press salvage. Now, when it comes to rare weapons, generally speaking, you won't be using them. They don't really have a use, but they actually do have a useful purpose beyond one of their useful purposes, which is getting a weapon all the way to A10. As you see here, we have this bow advanced all the way to the maximum point where it unlocks these new abilities, such as higher crit damage and increasing the user's attack, defense, and HP by 10%. You'll find oftentimes that a rare at A10 is better than any other SR weapon you could use for a hunter. Again, A10 just means the advancements, so if it's A1 it just has 1 star, A5 has 5, and A10 has 5 plus 5 advancements further on. This would be an example of an A6 weapon, 5 stars and 1 more advancement. But if we look at these stats, let's look at our shield for example. You can see it has a 10% buff to attack, defense, and HP, and also a very high precision buff. If we swap over to an SR weapon, you can see the stats are not comparable, the precision is lower, and you're missing out on the boost, which does make a huge difference. So if you haven't done this already, I do highly recommend it. Getting a rare to A10, it will serve a very useful purpose until you get proper weapons for your hunters. Now, moving back to dismantling, I just want to show you comparison between an A10 book, which gives us 3 of these weapon enhancements and 330 of these materials. If we switch over to just a single copy that is not advanced, let's quickly look at what it gives. So here we have a base copy. Let's add that on. So it gives 3 extra of the weapon enhancements and 30 more materials. That means you're better off keeping them at the base and not advancing them. Advancing them does not equal more rewards. Since without this bonus one here, this is just 11 copies worth of materials, which is just the base copy plus the 10 enhancements. So if you do advance a rare weapon when you don't need it, you'll miss out on all the weapon enhancements, so don't do that. Make sure just to salvage these single copies. That's the best way to do it. And an easy way to put in all your rares while having to click them individually is by pressing the select all button here, and you can choose which rarity you want to salvage. In this case, I want to go for hunter weapons with the rare rarity. Let's select all. It inputs 100 here, and let's salvage them. I definitely don't want them, so let's do that. And we got a ton of material and weapon EXP. Let's do that all over again. Again, for hunter weapons, select all and salvage. Such a nice way to get some quick EXP, and also those materials will be so useful. You can see we have close to an endless supply of these. We've done so many summons, and we get so many rares by doing them. I'm so excited to finally spend these. I made sure to save my salvages for this video just to give you something interesting to look at. Now, we can do the same for Jinwoo's weapons as well. You don't need them, so let's salvage them too. From my understanding, they have no use. You always want to use SSR weapons of Jinwoo. The rares serve no purpose. SR weapons, however, generally have a purpose. I don't believe in most instances you should salvage them. I think eventually they will serve some sort of purpose, so I'm not going to rush to do that. That is up to you, however. You can salvage the very low tier SR weapons, but don't go for useful ones. Weapons such as the Illustrious Dragon Sword are very good to use. Casca's Venom Fang is also decent. So again, avoid salvaging the very good weapons we have. You don't want to miss out on their use, since you will eventually use them, depending on whether or not you're free to play or pay to win. So there goes all our salvaging. At this point, we can level up our weapons to a very high point as well. Let's see how many we got. We have 2,864 from all that salvaging. Very nice indeed. We can get our weapon to level 80 and we'll limit break it later, since right now we want to go to the shop and I'll show you exactly what you should buy. So these mana power crystals are honestly very hard to come by, so I will be purchasing all of these. These are one of the more useful things to purchase. Same with the hunter exclusive weapon design. You could also go for these higher level skill scrolls as well. Both of these will be useful, but again that depends on your needs. They do cost a lot, so be careful. That's only if you have a surplus of these materials. If you don't, I suggest sticking to the hunter designs and also the power crystals I just purchased. They are generally the material we have a tough time getting. Designs are fairly common, but you can use those as well. But let's jump into crafting, since I really want to make Jiwoo's weapon. Let's quickly hop into our inventory and we can use these to get all those ice mana crystals. I just want to double check I'm not going to make a mistake here. We want 16 for 2 weapons, so let's go ahead and claim them. And there we go, we have 16. We can go ahead and craft them now. Jumping into crafting, we're going to go to weapons, go all the way to Jiwoo's weapon, and we're going to craft 2 of them. Let's do this. Her weapon is such a necessity on her, especially in dupes. I know I can get weapons for Emma, but I really want to get it for Jiwoo. She's honestly one of our top damage dealers right now, so it would be a shame not to max her out when I can. So let's advance the weapon, and at the A1 level we get an additional % here for the stacking effect, which is very good, essentially double. And we also get more critical damage, which is always something we want. So let's go ahead and fuse them. This is going to be so satisfying. I've been waiting ages to get her weapon, and there we go. Let's go ahead and level it up. This is going to be a welcome addition to her, considering she's so good for some of the bosses we have in this game. She makes it an absolute breeze to clear them, and now with her weapon, she's going to be even better. So yeah, hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight on what to do. Basically, for weapons in the rare rarity, you don't need to worry about salvaging them. Just get them to A10 in the beginning of your gameplay, since they will be better than the SR weapons you have, depending on whether or not you're pay to win or not. If you're free to play, it'll be definitely useful, so don't waste them early on. Fuse them up, and you can use them as a very capable weapon. And again, with SSR weapons, don't be afraid to salvage them if they're for a hunter you don't plan on using, which we oftentimes get from events. So we have the silver main Yunhu weapon in progress. It provides us their SSR weapon for free. I personally don't plan on spinning for them, so their weapon is completely useless. I don't need it, so salvaging it for a better weapon is the most ideal thing you can do. Again, that's my viewpoint on it. If you're under a different impression, be sure to drop down in the comments below. I'm curious to see what you think. Let me know if this is how you do it, or if you do it some different way. I believe this is the most efficient way to do it, since keeping these useless weapons has no merit at all. And what's everyone's thoughts about these new events they've added in? I honestly do enjoy this one. It's fairly easy to do, and the rewards are pretty decent. If we go to the shop, you can see we can purchase a lot of useful materials, and don't forget to go in here and purchase these daily ones for gold. It'll make the event much easier to do. I don't recommend using SS stones, but that's up to you. If you are pay to win, it could be useful. You could get a refund based on the streaks you get. But anyways, taking a quick look at the rewards, I believe one of the better things to get is the skill rune chests. They provide fantastic value, providing at minimum 20 rune fragments, and you have the chance for an epic or rare skill rune. Although the rates are a bit low, they are quite high for a skill rune, so always good to get. And again, skill scrolls are always good. A very easy way to get them through events. I would get these last. You don't need the EXP right away. I would prefer getting these scrolls since they're very useful. The EXP comes and goes pretty quickly, but when it comes to fragments, skill runes, and these scrolls, they are much more rare than the EXP. So get them in that order, or just depending on what you need. We should be able to clear all of these out once the event ends, but do prioritize those in your purchase. So yeah, I hope that information did help you out a bit. If it did, please do leave a like, drop a comment as well if you have any input, and also subscribe to the channel if you want more soul leveling Arise content like this. This is Zaf signing out.